I'd like to cut across to Mr. Dave first. Mr. Dave, the fact is I'm trying to make sense of the 53-page judgment, and it does seem the basis of releasing or at least suspending the sentence of Kuldeep Sengar stems from the fact, prima facie, that the offence of aggravated penetrative sexual assault under POCSO was not made out against him. Section 5 of POCSO lists circumstances under which a penetrative sexual assault of a child is considered aggravated, and as per the same, if it is committed by a public servant or a police officer, then it becomes aggravated sexual assault. And therefore, because the court deems he was not a public servant, and correct me if I'm wrong because it's as bizarre as that, then the charge doesn't hold.
Well, let me say one thing, that this is a judgment which shocks the conscience of every person in this country. And this is one of the reasons why, judiciary is losing its faith. I can share with you, Preeti, today my secret of quitting law in July 2025 after 48 years of practice, because I have lost faith in judiciary. And I can tell you one thing, this judgment is perverse beyond imagination, because the judges have not even cared to see the act, the scheme of the act, why the act was brought. It was brought following India's, signing of the international conventions prepared by the United Nations to protect the children. And it has many, it's a social, enactment. It is to protect children against all kinds of offenses. And the judges have misunderstood the opening part of the section 5, which says, when committed by persons in authority or trust. Now, can there any be doubt about the fact that an MLA, a serving MLA, is not a person in authority or trust? The rest of the part, like specifying, a public servant or a police officer or, other hospital in charge or school in charge, those are illustrative cases. What you have to see is a person in authority or trust who has committed this offense. The moment you find that he is such a person, then the conviction must hold under section 5C, and 20 years minimum sentence has to be imposed upon him. So the interpretation that judges have given is not a purposive interpretation. It is, I would say, it's extremely myopic, and it is saddening that judges of the Delhi High Court have, given this kind of an order, which really is against, protection of children in this country. We know what is happening across the country. We know what our elected representatives do and can do. We have seen how father was killed. We have seen how lawyer was killed. We have seen this is a case which shocks the conscience of everybody. The judges have ignored everything. There is a detailed judgment by the trial court convicting this person. And if appeal was admitted as early as 2020, where was the need for judges to have taken up the application for bail and granted the bail? It's a perverse approach. And I really hope and pray that the Supreme Court really intervenes, if necessary, suo motu, and stays this judgment forthwith. Because if it doesn't, we are sending terrible signals that people in power can get away. We are seeing every day that politicians, when they are convicted, get justice as quickly as possible, whereas citizens like us have to wait for months and years to get, justice, and many of us will end up spending time in jail without bail. Why is it that this is happening? It's something which really we need to introspect, ponder, debate, and I think I would really sincerely appeal to the judiciary, which I love and respect. I have been part of it for 48 years, that they really should be on a correctional course.
No, Mr. Dave, I think one thing is right, especially in the recent past, there is a certain amount of disillusionment that has been set in where the judiciary comes into question. But I want to just bring you back in before I start, I include our other panelists. Because of all of the people who are watching, can you simplify it for us? Why do you think that this judgment was perverse? Because the 53-page judgment copy, if you look at, it seems that the bench has only focused, and one doesn't understand, on the fact that Mr. Sengar, as MLA, is not a public servant. How bizarre is that?
As I said, it's not to be public servant and covered by Section 5C is one of the illustrations. But really what is important and which judges have missed is by persons in authority or trust. One other example in that provision is also this. a person in a position of trust or authority over the child. Now, MLA is in authority over almost all electorates in his constituency. We know what kind of a power which is wielded. But more important than that, public servant has been widely interpreted by the Supreme Court in P.V. Narasimha Rao's case, although under Prevention of Corruption Act. And recently, Supreme Court in CBI versus Ramesh Gelli, it was, I think, 2016 or 2019 judgment, said that even an officer of a private bank is liable to be considered a public servant because he exercises an authority over public. Now, look at the MLA. He takes an oath to discharge public duties. And it is impossible to consider that an MLA is not therefore a public authority. You have to look to the intention behind the act. This legislation is a very special legislation. The judges can't, oversimplify it and say he's an MLA, he's not a public servant. MLA is a public servant so far as Prevention of Corruption Act is concerned. Why should he not be treated under a serious law like this? I think judges have interpreted, which according to me, the country must know in an extremely perverse way. And this judgment is wholly unsustainable on legal principles. And it really shocks at least my conscience very seriously. I am very sad that
Mr. Dave, before we let you go, just one quick question, because, which draws me to a larger question here, the halo. The sheen of that halo which the judiciary enjoyed, there was a certain amount of reverence that we've looked at of the judiciary of this country, the last resort. The judiciary would not do anything wrong. We've seen in a span of just a couple of weeks, a case after case, which, like I said, somewhere down the line takes away from that, the sheen of that halo or the reverence that one felt for the judiciary of this country. You had the Aravalli verdict, the judgment which has come in from the top court of the country, and you have the Delhi High Court coming in, with a judgment like this. Do you think this is a moment of reckoning now? Because too much has gone by. There has to be some recalibration.
I must tell you one thing, that there was a time when I started my practice in 1978. Judiciary was, absolutely outstanding. And it deservedly commanded respect across the country. Today, I would definitely say that judiciary does not command that respect across the country. And that is a matter for judges to really seriously ponder. I have been saying this for last at least 2 decades, that judiciary is fast losing its respect and acceptability in the society at large. We don't have, like United States, these kind of surveys which take place. But I can assure you, if a survey was taken about people's confidence in judiciary, judiciary will come out very poorly. And I think every judge must realize that he has a constitutional duty to, ultimately, who is he? He is a protector of fundamental rights of citizens, a high court judge or a Supreme Court judge. And if they go on giving this kind of judgments, Aravalli, for example, where was the need to give that judgment? It's a completely wrong judgment. So it's not this. See, last 25 years, 30 years, we are seeing a, very serious erosion in the way Supreme Court and High Courts and judiciary across the country is discharging its functions. There are outstanding judges. But unfortunately, sometimes these kind of, errors which are made by few judges really bring down judiciary's respect amongst the society. And that is what has to be stopped. I hope somebody really takes up this issue. I hope Chief Justice of India, who has recently been appointed, really, looks at this aspect and, assures us citizens that no, judiciary will be fiercely independent and will stand up for